What is going on? Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Morbius. Today is Tuesday, and y'all know what that means. Another episode of Comic Relief. I'm excited. Hope you guys are excited. Let's get to it. What is going on? Y'all already know what's going on, brother. I haven't seen you in a minute. Where you been at, man?
Yeah, hiding in my boxes, bro. I got lost.
You got lost, bro. What's going on, y'all? Happy Tuesday. Glad to see everybody hanging out with us. And before we get started, I do have to say, hi, Lily. I see you, Lily. Love you, mommy. Mwah. Have a good night. Had to do that because she requested that, so had to take care of my little girl. You know what I mean? That was for you, mommy. I see you. But yeah, man, guys, I'm excited today. It's definitely a very different Tuesday. You know what I mean? This ain't our average topic. This ain't something we normally would discuss, but this is something that actually me and Paul was talking about earlier. And I felt that it was something that'd be good to discuss today with the homie Crash and anybody else who's willing to jump on. As I said earlier, this is an open discussion, so everybody is more than welcome to come on, hang out, talk with us for a little bit. Let us know what y'all think. You know what I mean? So before we get even started, man, let's get into this chat, Crash. Let's see who's hanging out with us in here. Of course, as usual, we got the homie Justin, KnowGoodComic. Salute to you, my brother. Appreciate you. You know what I mean? And of course, Unruly Simeon, a regular of the show. Appreciate you, my brother, always hanging out with us and chopping it up. And of course, we got Blue Cow Comics. What's going on? Peace, man. Appreciate you stopping by again. And of course, speaking of the homie, we got Big Paul up in here. What's going on, brother? Back to back issues. And of course, we got Lord. What's good, Lord Chugs? Relief, you already know, man. It's time to relief, brother. It's time to relief that. Let's see who else we got hanging out. Oh man, we got another big homie. Salute Big John, Big Daddy John. What's going on, man? Oh, when we got the homegirl in the house. What's going on, Michelle? I know you got your show coming up soon, so make sure y'all tune into her. I believe it's at 8:30. Go to her channel, go check her out. And that's perfect timing because that'll be right after my show. So you go check her out and go hang out with her. And so check out her breakdown that she does every week on her show. And of course, who else we got in here? And of course, we got the homeboy Leroy. What is good, brother? Appreciate you always coming through, hanging out, man. Appreciate everybody, really, man, that comes through and hang out with us. David, what's going on, Professor? What's going on, man? Appreciate you as always. Seems like we just got everybody up in the chat here. Let me just go back down real quick. And we got 11 people hanging out with us. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Real quick, let's just do a cheers to everybody. Salute to you. No matter what you drink, it could be water, it could be air. Cheers to you. Salute, brother. You already know. And yeah, man. So today's topic, like I said, it was Paul, if you in here. As a matter of fact, before we even get started, man, I'm getting ahead of myself. Hold on a second. That link, man. Let me drop that link real quick because y'all gotta get some. Oh, Roger, what's going on, my brother? Salute to you, man. Appreciate you. 3 Men in the Basement hanging out with us. Salute. Don't forget this Saturday, they got their event coming up. Make sure y'all go hit them up. Go hit the website, hit the IG to make sure where you going, you know. And I'm trying to get there. I'm hoping I get there this weekend, man, guys. I really am. I'm trying to finagle a lot of things. Had a lot of stuff on my plate that week, but we'll see what happens. You just never know. Salute to Desire Comics. Big Nige, what's going on, brother?
Nigel,
Appreciate you hanging out with us. You like that how I just came in there with that one. I didn't even know I was coming with Nigel on that one.
All right.
But yeah, guys, so real quick, let's get into this topic. I've been talking about it. Paul, once again, if you in here, man, jump on, brother, because it was me and Paul, we were talking about this, and I know Paul got some insight on that as well. That I just dropped the link for anyone else who want to come on, let it know, because today's topic we're going to be talking about, should the MCU be considered 616? Or should it be designated another universe? You know, and we'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on that. If anybody want to jump on, definitely come on. I just dropped the link in the chat. And if you want to come on, let me know, because I mean, we all got a lot of opinions on this. You know, some might want to keep it 616. Some might feel that it should change to something else. Crash, what's your take on it, man?
I don't think it makes any sense whatsoever to leave it 616 for the simple fact that they've already acknowledged these different universes and within the movies. And the fact that they have all these different universes in the movies, and as a matter of fact, I just saw
Appreciate it.
The new Doctor Strange movie, and of course, no spoilers, but there is a scene where they're cartoons. So the fact that they're showing cartoons as a separate universe, to me, dictates that there is a comic universe as
Mhm.
well, which is the
Mm,
616.
right.
So the Marvel universe should not be a 616 designation for
Mm,
that simple fact. It shouldn't be, because it is not the comics. You know what I'm saying? It'd be one thing if they didn't give these other universes that sort of light, like a cartoon universe or a paint universe, these
mm.
different kinds of universes. If there was just regular universes that weren't animated or stuff like that, then I would be like, okay, yeah, they can get away with that. But the fact that they're giving love and designation and separation to a universe that is purely animated, that means that there's a comic book universe as well, and so that should have its own lane. The
Yeah,
movie should be different things.
I definitely am there. You know, I just, like I said, this is something that I was didn't really put too much thought to it. What did caught my attention was when Mysterio first, you know, mentioned it back in the 2019, you know, Spider-Man No Way Home. You know, that's where I could say honestly where it stood out to me, and I felt so weird about it. You know what I mean? Because when I heard it, he was, you know, he made it very adamant. This is 616. I'm from, I think he said 538 or something like that. And to me, I was just like, nah, that don't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense. It's just like what, you know, David said, you know, Thomas, which is Professor, you know, Horton, and you have so many different backstories, so many different like plot changes, and just totally different continuity, totally different characters when it comes to certain teams and certain events and certain stuff. Like there's so you could consider the MCU like another, you know, reality, just like, and not the main one, because it had so many different things that are so reminiscent to ours, to the comic reality, but then you have that MCU reality where it's so different. And like you were
Mhm.
saying, you know, if you could go through all these universes, all these things, you're going to be able to see that, you know, MCU is not, you can't be considered 616. You know what I mean? Like the
Obviously,
comic universe is
Feige already
616.
changed it up.
You know,
Everybody has seen the movies. Anybody that's a comic book fan, when they watch these movies, well, we already know that there's just certain things that you can't put on a silver screen that you can get away with in a
right?
comic
We
book.
get that. We get that.
Obviously, you're gonna have to do
Right.
something different. So
Right.
why would you still call this the 616?
Right.
Now, mind you, all this stuff that I'm saying, um, on the flip side,
Yeah, I
this
heard
is my
this already.
opinion, but
Closer to
at
the
the same
ultimate
time,
goal.
that's just not something that I believe they can change at this point. I think that they've already gone down, they're too deep in that rabbit hole. They've done too
Mm-hmm.
many things to show that this is 616.
What up, Paul?
What
What's
up,
going on,
Paul?
brother? What's
And
up,
as
Crash?
Morbius was saying, he was the when he got put onto it was a Spider-Man movie. Now, yeah, I saw the same thing too, but for me, it didn't hit me as hard with
Thank
that
you.
movie because in my mind I was thinking, all right, this guy, he's Mysterio, he's full of shit, so he's probably lying. And
Mm-hmm.
one can argue that okay, even though he said 616, he was full of shit, so you don't know what he was saying the truth or what he was lying about. So for me, when it really hit me was when I saw the Loki
Mm-hmm.
series. And when he was watching his own death, the reel said 616. So that brought me back to what Morbius was saying about what happened in Spider Man. When you put both those things together, they're like, oh, this is what they're going with. They're going to call the MCU the 616. And that makes no fucking sense.
Right.
Absolutely not.
What's your
Absolutely
take,
not.
Paul? What's your take?
I mean, basically, like Crash was saying, it's not the MCU is something different, so they shouldn't even try to like connect them. It's just I think that's the biggest problem overall in general with Marvel Comics since the MCU started is that once the movies became popular, they figured they're gonna get new readers, I guess, or whatever, by making the books like the movies. But to longtime readers like us, it just kind of alienated us. I feel, you know,
Right.
they switched up the continuity. They just kind of started, just completely changing things without really making sense to people who've been reading the books a long time. But it makes sense to someone maybe who watches the movies, but they're not going to go buy the books anyway. So they should just keep it separate.
Yeah, that was another thing too we was talking about. Not to change the subject, but to change the subject. We were, that's how we do normally. Cheers, man. Cheers.
We switching it up tonight, by the way.
Oh, I see that. What would you got?
I did a job for a customer. He gave me. He worked for this Rhode Island beer company, Whalers American Pale Ale. So he gave me a couple of 6-packs.
America.
And I must admit,
how is
it? It's not stellar.
I thought he was gonna say the opposite. I thought he was gonna be like,
it'll do, I guess. Any port in the storm, but it's
hey, it's the thought that counts. You could tell him, I did try it.
Exactly.
You ain't bullshitting.
Try to represent for Rhode Island, but
you know what I'm saying?
It's just not quite there.
You gotta. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'll ship some out to somebody. Maybe you guys want to give it a shot, but
oh man, that's fucking. Oh man, I love that movie. By the way, man.
What's that?
Fucking, what was it? These guys who made South Park when they made that movie, America, some shit like that. Like they were just like, damn, it was like with puppets. I know I've changed the whole subject. That's why I got that America. Yeah, fuck yeah, America. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah.
Yeah, this is a very American beer, I guess you would say. But
Team America, there you go. Team America. Yes, I knew she had that.
Team America, man. I'm thinking of the comic book from the 80s.
No, that shit is fucking hilarious, bro.
It actually makes me think of something. Remember Team America?
You gotta be high though to watch that shit, though. You gotta be high.
The motorcycle gang, the comics, Team America. Yeah. Who was the dude who looked like Snake Eyes? Remember one of them? He was all in black. He had like the Snake Eyes kind of mask and everything.
Oh man, I'm trying. If anybody knows, man, damn.
Yeah, I mean, somebody in here gotta know that, but
my mind went blank. But yeah, back to the topic, guys. MCU, I guess we're all in agreement here. If anybody, wants to chime in, man, definitely come in, hit the link in the chat, jump on, say your piece. It don't gotta be nothing crazy. You know what I mean? Just, speak your mind. What y'all think? Because obviously the MCU is not 616. You know what I mean? That is undeniable. It's
more Ultimate Universe than anything.
Right, exactly. That's right. Remember, I know you had said that earlier in our conversation.
That's what they basically, but like Nick Fury, I mean, he's basically straight out of the Ultimate Universe.
Right. You know what I mean?
So
you can't.
Anything, they should have gave it that number. I don't know what the number of the Ultimate
Universe me either. I don't know. We got somebody Google that. What's the number there?
Yeah, and on that same vein, I'm not a big fan of them drawing the comic book characters to look like the actors that play them in the movies.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I was never a big fan of that. I mean, of course, at this point, the one that everybody's just sold on is the whole Nick Fury thing because, of course, Samuel Jackson did such a great job on screen. But I remember when I first saw Samuel Jackson being drawn in the comic books, I was like, wait a second. I know they were going to draw him as a black man, but they didn't just draw him as a black man. They drew him as Samuel Jackson.
Right.
So like, that's a little too on the nose. And then they started, I'm like, nah, I don't know if I'm a fan of that, man.
Yeah.
So the Ultimate Universe is Earth 1610.
Okay.
That's what it's considered. 1610 is the
ultimate. If anything, that's what they should have.
Right. They should have called it
that's what
Universe
they should have did. I mean,
it's all about business, all about selling books. You know, it's just that's all it's about, and that's where they mess shit up. Yeah, and I understand it's a business. Don't get me wrong. I'll be the first one to play devil's advocate and say, this is capitalism, and go ahead and roll with it. But I mean,
I don't think it works though, right? I mean, we all probably know people who watch the movies. Like my wife, she's watched every MCU movie. She's never going to the comic shop and buying a comic. You know what I'm saying? She enjoys the movies, but she's never going to go buy the book. So it's like I don't really see where there's like a connection. In theory, it should be that way, right? Millions of people go see the movies. the comic sells 12,000
so-
copies a month. Like, let's see if we can get some more people to kind of switch over from the movie universe to the books. But it doesn't seem like that happens too much. Maybe they know, maybe it does more than I know, but
Just a
it
bunch
doesn't
of suits
appear
making
that way.
decisions, and we all know that when suits make decisions, it'll fuck shit up big time. I mean, look at that Morbius movie. That was Suits saying, "Hey, we need to change this up. We need to re-edit it. We need to reshoot. We need to cut this out. We need to put that in there." And I haven't seen it yet, but from when I hear people talking about it, it was just a shit show as far as continuity and just, you know, if you're just in for the rock'em sock'em special effects action, you notice some of those details, but other people that are like into this shit, when they watch that, they're like, "Yo, what is this shit show?"
I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen I haven't heard a lot of good things about it, so I guess we'll see when I check it out.
Yeah, I saw that shit. It's just garbage. I mean, like you said, special effects look great and all that stuff, but for somebody who's invested in that character or invested in his story just in general, it's like definitely a letdown, you know. But yeah, Dave, it was David Trope, going back to the universe designations. David Trope, and he's a UK Marvel UK editor. His name was David Trope back in '83. I think he started that whole designation of universes, you know, to try to break and expand on, like, you know, Earth, you know, reality. Because, you know, back then people were like, "Yo, I want to draw this," and they're like, "Yeah, but that doesn't work here. Like, you can't do that on Earth. Like, that doesn't work like in this reality." So they're like, "Let's create multiple realities then." You know, we can expand on these characters and storylines, and has no effect on, you know, 616, you know, basically. So that's where that whole thing started. I know Crash, you was saying there's more detailed breakdown on the numbers, you know, and how that came about.
It was the formula of how he came, why he chose those numbers, but I can't recall at the moment. If anybody here knows that continuity, does anybody remotely grasp continuity?
I grasp continuity, man. I'm sorry, these new readers, they don't need it.
They don't understand continuity. They don't get it.
And so saying Marvel movies suck, that's incorrect. They're just different than the books. You know what I mean? Enjoy the movies for what they are and read the books for what they are. Just don't try to make them
because they're not. That's what the conversation we have here. So that's what we're saying, that, you know, MCU is not the comic universe, you know. So this whole discussion that MCU is saying there's 616, your comment is exactly like the, you know, personification of how it's not. Because in your hopes as a comic lover, you look at these movies as, yo, they should have the same exact, you know, breakdown and plot points and everything and characters, and there's not. It's the total opposite. So it's a big letdown for us who are really hold on to that, you know. And I think that this conversation that's what we're talking about, that there you know, you have to look at it as if you're reading another universe. Like when you're reading something and you're like, "Oh no, that's not taking place here on 616." So I'll get invested into it, you know. I'll invest into it and enjoy it for what it is, you know. And I think that that's how we got to approach these movies, that, you know what, this is not, you know, the 616 comic, you know. This is
I don't want to say I think the movie sucks because it's not like the books, you know what I mean? Sometimes it does suck.
They do suck, like Eternals, you know, Morbius. They just suck in that sense. But overall, you know, like you look at Endgame, you know, you look at those movies, like they did a good job with those movies, how they led up to Thanos and all that, and, you know, it was good. I enjoyed it. You know, I enjoyed it. I wasn't there like, this shit sucks. Like, you know, I was like,
it can be different. Cool. Even like these recent Spider-Man movies, there's nothing from the comics in these movies. They're completely, if anything, that maybe they're like Ultimate Spider-Man, but I still enjoy them. I think they're cool. I like the Spider-Man movies. I mean, but they're not Lee Ditko like early Spider-Man stories. I mean, they're kind of completely different.
Right.
You can like respect and like both, you know, but if it's trash, then it's trash. But all the resets. Well, I concede. I don't read a lot of the new stuff. I'm not that much into
I'm not into the new stuff too much.
I'm talking, I like continuity. I'm not saying they're still doing it or it's still in the books, but I'm saying when I was reading books in the 80s, 90s, you know, by the late 90s, it's kind of started to lose its cohesiveness. But back in the day, in the 80s, I mean, continuity was fucking tight. I mean,
It's
if you
king,
read
bro.
Daredevil,
Continuity was king.
some shit happened in Daredevil, you know, you might see it in fucking X-Men or something. Like it would,
Right. Some
like the
crazy
shit was all connected. Now
Yep.
it's, you know, characters who were dead, they come back alive. They don't explain
And
how they were alive. So what up?
What's going on? I just jumping in real quick, just to say,
Yes, sir.
you know, it's not even the movies sucking just because they don't follow the books. I like the books because I like what they have. I like the essence they bring, and that's what gets missed in the movies. It doesn't translate the same. It just seems like a cheap interpretation.
Yeah, it's tough to get
most
years.
people. Like people enjoy. I've talked to all of you about this before. If you enjoy the movies, if you like the movies, awesome. I don't feel like you're getting what's in those books. I do get aggravated when the movies start goofing up what happens in the books, but it's just a cheap version of it. That's why I don't like it.
You're always gonna lose. I mean, the same people have had this same argument when it comes to books in general, not comic books. When they make movies out of novels and books, the people who are into books and are avid readers will look at the movies the same way Sob looks at them and say, yo, these movies are always going to be a cheap imitation of these books. Yeah, it's never going to amount to it because, and at the end of the day, I don't think it's trying to. It's basically just trying to take one genre and expose it to other audiences in another genre. You're taking a book and putting it into a movie. And for me, I always have this suspension of belief when it comes to accuracy. So that's why I can enjoy the movies because I'm off top from gate. I'm already saying this is no way going to compare to the original source material. This is something totally different. You know what I'm saying? That's like comparing an ex-girlfriend to a current girlfriend. You're always going to lose. You know what I'm saying? They're not the same people. They're not the same thing. The only similarities is they're both women. That's it.
Yeah, no doubt. No, and that's the thing with a lot of the movies. They're trying to squeeze, like, that's why they can't do a good X-Men movie, because that shit takes a long time to build and develop. That's why I will give MCU, though, credit. They took their time building up to, like, Endgame, you know, an Infinity War. That was, like, lots of movies, like, building and building. So that's why that's generally, like, pretty good. Whereas, like, some of the other shit where they just, like the previous X-Men movies, you know, like the third movie, they tried to squeeze in like Doc Phoenix, you know, so many different storylines, Weapon X, and all these things in the one fucking 2-hour movie. Like you can't do it. It's gonna come across cheesy. That's why I'm surprised they fuck up Morbius though, the movie, because honestly, he doesn't have like that much of like a publication history where you can fuck it up. He's basically a scientist who tried to cure himself, ended up giving himself like fucking vampirism, and he became like a, you know what I mean? So you would think you could do that without fucking it up, but
I mean, what happens when you give suits too much power? They'll fuck up the most easiest thing.
Yeah, definitely. I think it goes back to what Crash said on a lot of these movies. You know, when you get these suits involved and when money is a big play, you know, these people are like, hey, bust it. We see you.
That's why I'm on mute. I just wanted to pop in and say hello real quick, but I'm gonna hop back and I'll see you guys in the chat.
Brother, appreciate you as always.
Always a pleasure.
Always, brother.
Speaking of the chat, salute to the chat. Salute to everybody that's still hanging out with us. Salute to everybody who's behind the scenes checking out the show. I got a link in the chat for anybody who wants to jump on. As you already know, here we are. Us three are in agreement that the MCU is not 616 at all. Cannot be considered 616 for many factors that we've been discussing. If you feel the same, jump on. If you don't, jump on. Let us know what you think. You already know how we do here. And yeah, man, once again,
continuity, man. I love the continuity, just like
hell yeah, man.
I was such a continuity whore back in the days that it used to piss me off sometimes when I would read some of the solo Wolverine issues, because sometimes, as tight as Marvel is with their continuity, sometimes in some of these solo books that some of these X dudes have, it didn't coincide with the regular books sometimes. So I was extra picky about that. I was like, okay, when is this taking place? When did this happen? And sometimes they would be very ambiguous and they wouldn't paint themselves in a corner. But even that bothered me. That's how much of a continuity who I was. It was like, yo, you have to make some sort of reference here. You got to put the little asterisk at the bottom box that happened in issue 252 or something, bro. You know what I'm saying? That used to drive me crazy when they did that sometimes, which is why I used to avoid that at times.
It started to get tough when they started putting these characters in fucking 2, 3, 4 books a month. I mean, now it's for someone like you or even me, it's like, well, wait a minute. He's in, you know, when the X-Men were in the Outback era in Australia, it's like, yo, he's in the Outback right now. What's he doing? You know, so
right, exactly.
It did start to get like a little like, all right, what the fuck's going on? I mean, he can't be everywhere like this, you know. But that again, that's like
because he's the biggest, he's the guiltiest party because he was showing up in everybody's books.
Yep.
Yeah, you see, like my boy Petey was asking, he was like, "Yo, is there any movie that comes close to the comics?" And then Unruly was like, Road to Perdition, you know. And see that like those kind of movies, like also like, let's say like not movies, but I would guess that falls on the TV show like Sweet Tooth, which is another like indie book. Like, you know, like these are ones that, you know, I feel like a lot of times like the shows almost like reflect more of the story to a point, you know, because like all right, now we're coming off of MCU guys, right? Let's go to What If, right? Because I'm a big What If head, right? Big fan of What If. And then these What If started coming out. So the only one that you really could tie into that whole What If is you know, where Doctor Strange, you know, becomes the student of Dormammu, you know. And when I started looking at all the What Ifs episodes, if guys, maybe I'm wrong, man, but how many of those you could relate to the books? You know what I mean? Like how many outside of like the zombie, you know, of course you got Marvel zombies. That's not a What If. You know what I mean? It's not a What If story.
True.
You know, so you're looking at a lot of me being a fan and a collector of What If, you know, and looking at the show, I was like very like, damn, I thought they were gonna really like, but I get it. They were trying to create something that led up to the whole what's going on now. You know what I mean? How they tied all that in, even with Loki and, you know, and everything else that came down that pipeline. So to me, I understand that point, but then that leads back to what we're saying, where these are, you cannot be considering these anywhere near, you know, what the universe that's in the comic books. You know, this is something totally out there. They're totally recreating things, you know, to fit a certain narrative that's based on 616 comics, you know. So I think like I was kind of like rooting for What If, but I was kind of let down when I saw that I was like, man, there's no, and it ain't for the flipping, guys. You already know. Had nothing to do with that. I wasn't trying to blow up a book like fucking Dormammu did. You know, the What If Volume 1.
I am like that now though. When I see people hating on some fucking TV show or a movie, the first thing I think of is, these must be all the speculators who are upset that whatever they thought was going to happen never happened, so they upset about it now, and they're going to take it out on the show by talking shit about it. You know?
Yeah, exactly. You know, and but once again, Dave, like those modern stories, I feel like Thor's character has at least continuity where Aaron and Kate's writing totally different. Yeah, well, that's what we're dealing with. This is the modern age where that continuity is not there because you don't have, you know, how it was back then. You had the bullpen back then. You know what I mean? You had all these people in the same, you know, in pretty much office space working together. So they were, you know, going back and forth off each other. And they're like, oh, yeah, we could put that in here. Now you're dealing with a lot of independent, you know, you got people who are over here, over there, and they taking these characters and they want to recreate these characters. It's no longer about, oh, how can I tap off of this? You know, now it's like, oh, I just want to totally fucking just revamp this motherfucker and create something totally different, you know, and start a whole new timeline with this person, retcon everything about this person. You know, I think that's where the more, you know, modern writing is you know, was leading towards, you know, other than back then you had a lot more cohesiveness because of course they worked together. They were in the same environment. So it was a lot easier to work off each other.
That shit kind of started a while ago though, with like the writers, the new writer coming on and not really giving a shit about what happened before him. And he's just going to come out with whatever like I remember we're all big X-Men fans, so you remember like Morrison took over. He wrote like he created like a bunch of new, like the school was open to everybody, and all of a sudden all the mutants were fucking green. They had see-through skin. Like before that, all the mutants were pretty much human looking, and all of a sudden all these freaky kind of weird mutants came out. So.
Right.
And then the next writer came on. He created a whole bunch of new not new mutants. You know what I'm saying? New mutants characters come on. And then Claremont came back to the title, and he created a bunch of new. And it's like no one ever played with the guys that were created before them. Like, oh, let me bring these guys back. And that's why you ended up with like fucking 10 million mutants in the Marvel world. You know, so it's just like that. And that was like 20 years ago. All that shit was going on. So I just feel like. I don't know. I don't read Thor, so I don't know what's up with Aaron and Kate, but it just makes sense. Like when the new guy comes on, he wants to make his mark. He's just going to create all these fucking new characters and screw all the people that came before him, kind of thing. Which it's not really cool.
I think that happens for two reasons. Well, there's a few reasons, but the first two that pop off the top of my head. One is, as an artist, whether you're a writer or whatever have you, you always want to add you always want to make something your own, and it's a lot easier to fuck history but it's a lot tougher to actually do your research and say, hey, what are the lines that I need to stay within? A truly creative person will be like, okay, fuck it, give me these boundaries. I'm still gonna kill it with my imagination within these lines, and that's the problem with a lot of people nowadays. They're not really having that. They want to make things their own. And I think for the second reason, I think what further underscores that is that the generations after us had the internet. And because of the internet and because the massive amount of information that people absorb nowadays than before they used to, attention span isn't there. Remember, continuity requires an attention span. If you have a limited attention span, continuity ain't going to be shit. Who gives a fuck about continuity when your attention span is jumping from this to that and whatever? It's just not conducive to have continuity in that sort of mind frame. So it's not going to happen. You know what I mean? There's just way too much information. They're too used to absorbing so much information and moving on really quickly. And usually a person who craves continuity is because they either love the depth of the stories or that they have much more time to absorb much more information. So if you're starved of information, you're gonna relish all this information that you get. But if information is coming 1, 2, 3, 4, you don't have to work. You don't have to sit there and starve for nothing. It's gonna be.
It's just right at your fingertips, you know. So you don't really need to have that kind of recall or that. You know? But remember the little corner boxes, you know, say like something would happen, especially in X-Men. X-Men was good.
And then then you see the asterisk, and then it says
who's this shady character? Remember issue,
go
X-Men
to this issue,
you know,
go look at this
shit.
Hell yeah, because you'll be like, oh, hold on a second, and then you go get it, and you're like,
check it out.
Yeah,
I would love that. I was just before Paul popped up. I was like, yeah, you have that little box at the bottom with the asterisk that tells you what issue did this happened in.
Yeah,
and I would love that because it made me go through my books. And hold on a second, before I would go further in that story, I would stop that, go to the book, pull it out, and like, okay,
refresh.
Exactly. You know, that's funny, man. I know. Real quick, Chef had a question for us. So I don't want to overlook that. I know he was like, hey, Morb, Crash, PJ, as old school collectors, what's your thought on Miles Morales? Let's go to Crash. What's your thought, brother, on Miles Morales?
Oh, I love Miles Morales because they did it. They introduced him in a way where it satisfies everybody. They introduced him in another universe. And then when the whole Secret Wars thing happened, when all these universes started collapsing, because he was such a great character, they found a great way to bring him into 616. So he has his own story. He has his own lane that they were able to believably add him into our main universe. So that's what I feel about Miles Morales.
How about you, Paul?
Yeah, no, definitely. That's like we were talking earlier today when I was talking about how, I mean, well, no spoilers, but just my theory, obviously, which obviously many people's theory, that that's how they're gonna use to fold all these other franchises into the MCU. But basically, yeah, I mean, he got integrated into the mainstream universe. But even when it was like Ultimate Comics with him, you know, it was always cool. It didn't feel like cheesy or he was trying to like. I mean, sometimes, you know, when they like kind of make these doppelganger characters or whatever, like piling on another character but changing something. It's usually, it doesn't come off as good. But
What
with
up, Ragin?
Miles, everything seemed, hey, what's up, JD? Everything seemed to kind of, it just all made sense. Everything was smooth, especially in the Ultimate Comic universe, because Peter Parker Spider-Man died, but then Miles kind of, you know, assumed the mantle. You know, I mean, it all kind of like fit in cool.
Yeah.
But then basically, like Crash said, you know, he was so popular, they were like, all right, well, we got to get him in the main, you know, so to speak,
Right,
Marvel universe. So
yeah,
it all
And,
kind of
I
fit
mean,
right in. But
I'm right there with
What
you
do
guys,
you feel
man.
about it?
What was that?
How about you? What's your 2 cents?
I despise him. I feel like he's a trope. No, I'm just kidding, man. Nah, great character, man. I mean, he's on the wall, not here, but over here somewhere. You know,
he's
so
next to
you
Miss
know,
Marvel and Spider-Gwen, right?
yeah, yeah, you remember, right? He's right. Spider-Man. Yeah, he's right next to those first appearances. Yeah, man. So I mean, and it's great because when I got back into comics back in like, you know, late 2014, 2015, is where I picked up, you know, the Secret Wars. And well, actually Crash put me on Secret Wars because I already had picked up the Miles Morales. So I wasn't privy until how he got into, you know what I mean? Until Crash was like, yo, you need to pick up that Secret Wars. So you could, and I was
And
like,
now you got like 10, 15 copies, right? I think I
oh
saw
yeah,
you.
when Secret Wars came out, I knew instantly. I was like, yo, this is something you need to get 20 copies of. You know what I mean? Because this is gonna be the kickoff point of the MCU, you know, in 2022. And I already knew that. I had the foresight, guys. I had the foresight to see that. You know what I mean? Like everyone else posting right now with their 20 copies, you know, even though, you know, this weekend was half off for Free Comic Book Day. Don't give me that shit. Motherfuckers was hitting up like every fucking local comic shop. Like, yo, let me get these books so I can fucking show out.
So
I knew it. I called it back in fucking 2015, guys. You know, get the fuck out of here.
everybody's a huge Secret Wars fan now, apparently.
Oh yeah, everybody's a fucking Secret Wars fan. They got them all, bro. They on it. And yo, and everybody who spent money on that Invincible Iron Man, everybody who picked up 10 copies, you know, I really hope that y'all could flip that, make some money back from that. I really do. I really do, man.
Yeah, so much for Tom Cruise.
Yeah, I know, right? Damn, guys. Hey, you never know though. You never know. He might come out in Fantastic Four. You never know.
It's like Mephisto, right? They just keep it going.
Yeah, they just keep milking that cow.
The next one.
He'll be out in the next one.
Captain Marvel 2 or whatever.
Right. No, Captain Marvel 4. And it'll be Mephisto and Invincible Iron Man in both in the movie.
Like, just let that shit go, man.
So yeah, so shout out to y'all and everybody who paid, you know, who got 5 copies of Muerto. When that movie comes out, like in 3 years from now, you know what I mean? I really hope y'all make y'all money off that. Really hope. You know?
Actually, though, speaking of Secret Wars, because Soap said Ghost Racers was sick. I never read that. But actually, not the original Old Man Logan, because that was in the Wolverine series. But that Old Man Logan miniseries, the Secret Wars one from the Wastelands, was great. That was really good. I didn't like the series they came out with when they brought him to the main, the main Marvel universe. But when he was on Battle World, that 5-issue miniseries with the Sorrentino art, that series was good.
I gotta reread those, man.
Yeah, that was good. Actually, I should probably reread it. It's been a while.
I'd be forgetting all that stuff, man. I'd be like, damn, I smoke too much, people. I smoke too much. Anyway, but nah, man, definitely going back to the topic, you know, I don't want to veer off too much, but I think this all kind of ties into that. I mean, this is like receipts, you know, we just keep pulling out receipts, and it's like, you know, it kind of like, it's almost like if the MCU wanted to plant his flag and claim that we're the original, and I could kind of understand that from somebody who doesn't read comic books. Like, I'm looking at it from that perspective of somebody who loves the movies but does not collect comic books, and they go as far as buying that ticket and sitting in the theater when it comes to you know, knowing what they know about Marvel or DC or whatever it is that they're watching, you know, and that's a conversation that I had with, you know, again with Paul a while back, where I saw people doing reviews on Moon Knight, based on the show. And I'm sitting there watching this review, and I'm just like, bro, what the? Do you even read the fucking comic? That's from 2016. Like, what are you talking about? Like, they were giving some Reddit, Wikipedia breakdown of like, and then they went into some psychological, super analytical, psychological bullshit. And you're like, okay, read the fucking book, right? And
chill
then
with the psychoanalysis.
Right. Stop trying to do all this psychoanalysis bullshit. Okay, go look for it. 2016, Moon Knight. That's where they got it from. Go read the fucking book, right? And then you could compare it to the show, and then you could make a correct analysis and basis of what might happen based on the fucking comic book, because that's where he's taking it from. Not everything, but that's where the majority of the fucking story is coming from. So stop and. Right, and then it kills me because she's trying to break this shit down. Well, I already gave half of it away. This is on TikTok, by the way, guys. This person is I'm watching their reviews, and I'm like, yo, I don't see it. I'm looking in the background. I say, is that a comic book? I'm like, no, that's a encyclopedia dictionary. Never mind that. I'm like, yo, where the comic books at? You talking all this?
Yeah, there's
Marvel
no fucking,
shit,
there's no long boxes in that person.
I don't see no books. And then they're trying to break shit down, and you're like, come on, man, get out of here with this shit. Like stop it. You know what I mean? Stop. And I think that happened, and it's okay. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with being a fan of MCU in the movies if you don't collect. That's not what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? But if you're gonna break down a story that's based on a comic book, at least go read the fucking book. At least go do some Moon Knight for Dummies. And then just brief through it, okay, I got
the cliff notes, yellow book,
at least, so that you can have a fucking real valid breakdown of it.
That's way too much work.
It is exact, and especially for TikTok, because you got to keep pumping those content out. You got to keep doing these videos. Get these views and likes, because that's what it's about. You know what I mean?
It's funny though. I was thinking when you were saying that though, I was thinking maybe that's what appeals to me about, or it did. I don't know. Maybe lately it's not as quality, but the MCU, because while the comics have no fucking continuity anymore, the MCU kind of did, because all the movies built off each other. They were
going off each other.
It was almost like being 1962 again. You could see the Marvel universe kind of blossoming. The introduction of the characters, all their origins, how they got to that point, and then they all formed the Avengers. I almost feel like the movies at some level were better than
with the continuity, right? They actually were holding true to that at a time where in comics there was no continuity, really.
Yeah, it was
that's true. Real quick, I know my man PD said something right here. Don't worry, so that's my boy. Don't get at him in the chat. That's my boy. You know what I'm saying? It's not personal to you, so you know what I mean? He's talking down about gold. Trust me, believe me, I'm not a big fan of Moon Knight either. But
yeah, I like my favorite character, but I mean, just briefly, wasn't really feeling the show.
The show, to me, if we want to talk about it real quick, guys, the show was trash. I was not feeling it. It really, it's just a lot of.
Listen, I enjoyed the series more than I've ever enjoyed any of his books. I'll be honest with you, bro.
Yeah, I used to like the Mark Spector book in the '90s. I like that one a little bit.
Yeah,
it didn't deal with all this psycho fucking
all this psychological shit, and fucking that's not what it was in the books.
He was just another typical '90s character, kicking ass and
I like the way they were transitioning at some point, but there was so much build up and backstory that they were trying to do, with all the yapping and the fucking talking and all the shit, and you just get lost in that. Okay, now I'm not feeling this. The I don't know, maybe the transitions, the editing, the way they move from one point to another, it just was, I don't know, great effects, awesome effects, of course, all of that stuff.
I can see the criticism. Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed it, but at the same time, it's not nah, y'all bugging. What's wrong with y'all? I can definitely.
My question. All right, Nicholas said. My question: would you rather not had a show at all? Yes.
I could
rather they not invest and put money behind Moon Knight, because that character is garbage to me. I don't think that they should have put money and any energy behind.
Yeah, so
you have so many other critical characters you could have done with that. Just on the namesake alone with a fucking catapult. Like, no, like I really don't think they should have spent any money on fucking Moon Knight at all. You know what I mean? Like, like even if you ask me, we're like El Muerto right now. Like, yo, you got fucking Sony got like 135 fucking characters you could have picked, and you picked the dude that only had 2 comic appearances. Like, you know what I mean? A lackluster appearance, and then you're gonna come on, man. Like, see, those are the decisions that I'm like, why y'all putting money in that? Like, why y'all?
Yeah, I agree with Blue Cow Comics. He said he fell asleep multiple times trying to watch
Yes.
it. And I feel like me and my wife both. Yeah, we both
shit.
fell asleep every time trying.
Every
to watch
fucking
it, so.
episode, I fell asleep through that shit. Like it never. I was never engaged. It was never like this. You know, pulling me in. Like the storyline was enthralled. I was just like, what's gonna happen next? It was more like,
and it wasn't even because it needed fucking action either. It just needed something to make me want to fucking watch it. You know what I mean? Like,
right. So I don't know,
boring.
Man. It was boring to me. I didn't like it. You know, and the same thing when I saw Morbius, it was very disappointing. You know, and now they're talking about, you know, they got Venom coming back. They got Venom coming out, another Venom. You know, they
that second. I finally saw that second Venom movie, and boy, it left a really bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah, it was. I was fast forwarding through that shit. Damn. I was like, skip.
Bad, huh?
That it was really, and I was. And I give a lot of this stuff a benefit of the doubt, but nah.
Yeah. The fucking Shang-Chi master. Oh yeah, that was not cool too. That was,
I like the Shang-Chi movie. It could have been better. They could have.
It was all right. It's not really. It's not comic. You know, again, that's one where it's like not really. I mean, it's kind of like he's beefing with his dad and all that, but not really like from the comic. So it's different. But you know, his dad's the Mandarin. For obvious reasons, though. We knew they can't use his real dad in like a movie. You know, they're not gonna. Disney's not gonna do that. You know, they're not gonna have Fu Manchu in like a movie. You know what I'm saying?
Brightburn, but I mean, Brightburn is like. Brightburn was good because Brightburn plays off the anti-Superman. You know what I mean? Like, so that's what the concept of Bright. It was dope. You know what I mean? But like once again, it's a movie that what happened to it? Like you really thought that was gonna take off and nothing happened. It just like fell flat. Whether it was promotion or
that movie. It was a good movie. There was a lot of stuff, but it didn't develop very well. That movie. There was a lot of great parts in that movie, and overall, I enjoyed it. But I wouldn't watch it again though.
Yeah, I know. I definitely would watch it again. That was ill. It was crazy, and I felt like I don't know. Something happened with that movie. It just fell flat.
I don't even know what it is. I have to confess. I don't think.
Go watch Brightburn. Brightburn is basically what would happen if Superman turned bad. Like I mean, pretty much.
Superman.
Evil Superman, and he's a little kid, and he's going to fucking town. You know what I mean? So definitely watch it. I don't want to say any more.
I wish they would have leaned heavier into what that last part you said, that he was going buck wild. That would to me was the more interesting part of that whole tale.
Right.
Was cool.
See, it's like what Petey said right here, Pedro. He said Brightburn was good, but I needed more. Exactly. There was something about it that just wasn't, you know what I mean? There was something in there that I just wasn't, didn't pull me in 100%. Like,
is it a comic book or no? The Brightburn? It's just a movie.
I don't know.
No, I don't think it's a comic book, but it's based off the Superman, so it's kind of like a homage to it. But it's like the anti-Superman. Like, what would happen if he was?
Didn't DC do a story where Superman he landed in Russia? I guess
wasn't that Superman Red
Sun,
Red Sun, something like that. Red Sun, yeah.
Right.
Okay, I got that shit too.
Yeah,
see, I'm bad.
What if he was
right?
Russian,
he was Russian, born in Russia. Yeah, the Red Sun. Yeah. So that was another one, right? So I mean, this shit all goes back to. I'm trying to spin it back to the topic, right? I'm trying to like bring it back. You know what I mean?
On target.
I'm trying to stay on target, guys. But yeah, all these movies are great, you know, and it's amazing. But it all leads back to the fucking, you know, to the antithesis of what we were talking about, which is MCU. You know, to me, to us here, anybody else, you know, I don't know, but Red Sun. There you go, Red Sun.
Red Sun, yeah.
Yeah, Red Sun.
Yeah, that was
that was good. Red Sun was cool. I know I'm not a big DC guy, but I did pick up Red Sun and I read it and it was cool.
And as I was saying, that was the mistake I believe that Marvel did by calling their movies the 616 universe, and there's no way they can walk this back at this point.
No, they can't. They're done. They're locked in. They're locked
in. But the thing is, what they can do is they can take this opportunity that they've given themselves with this multiverse and really do more of the what if thing. When what I mean by that is that you guys brought up a great point. Right now, the MCU has way better continuity than the comic books do. So, and like you guys said at the beginning, when comics first started, that's the way it was, and they started falling off. So the MCU might do the same thing, but it's because the thing is they can't paint themselves in a box, because it's going to be super difficult to continue to keep all these movies connected. And at some point, you're going to get people that are not as talented as the previous wave of people that made these movies. They're going to start stinking it up. So at some point, you're gonna have to do something like the Batman with Robert Pattinson, where it's a tale, it's a story that takes place without continuity. At some point, they're gonna have to do that, in my opinion. Because it's gonna be
no doubt.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I'm saying, and I think it'd be a wonderful opportunity to use the multiverse to say, let's tell a story that's not connected to the regular continuity. You have a multiverse instead of focusing on the multiverse as just being able to tell all these stories that eventually connect back to the 616. And I don't think that's sustainable. I think the way you're going to be able to diversify is to do something like what Robert Pattinson did and say, yo, it's just a good movie. Fuck the connectivity. What made it so good, that particular movie, what made it so good is that it wasn't connected to shit. So I want to see if Marvel can do something like that. Whether they're successful or not, who's to say? But I would want them to at least try something like that and use the excuse of the multiverse to say, okay, this doesn't take place in the main universe, and it doesn't have to connect to the main universe.
I know what character would they do it with, though?
Right.
You know what I mean, who would they just want to do a one-off with and not really, they're gonna want to keep using them, especially if it's successful. The movie, they're just gonna keep.
That's the problem. The same issues that Marvel has with killing all their bad guys. It's like, no, you gotta leave some of these dudes alive. I understand why you're doing it, but at some point you gotta try something different to see if it succeeds. You can't keep going with the same bullshit and say, let's squeeze the hell out of this. Yeah, it's popular, but let's squeeze the hell out of it. Nah. And the matter of fact, now that I think about it, you know who they can do a one-off? Deathlock.
Definitely.
Yeah, something like that.
Like a one-off character. Yeah, but they gotta pull it off right, man. They gotta pull that off right. And I think that right now with Marvel, MCU, they're riding on such a high that they're not thirsty like that. They're not. They're pretty much sticking to what works for them right now, and I think what works for them right now is what they're doing right now. A one-off without continuity to them seems insane. Like. Their whole concept is continuity.
I know, because honestly, if you think about the one-offs, I mean, they're not technically Disney movies though. Like Morbius was shit.
Morbius, right?
The Venom movies are kind of, now there's been 2 of them, but they're kind of in their own.
Like shit. Their own little.
You know what I mean? So
Sony is pulling it off in that sense, but as far as the Marvel Studios,
they're
not pulling it off. Well,
they're making the movies. They're sucking.
They're making the attempt. You know what I mean?
My main reason I think Moon Knight sucked is because they never got the living mummy on there. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
I'm mad like the rest of the speculators. They didn't put my man living mummy in the fucking
show.
Mummy.
You gotta have the living mummy.
I mean, how are you gonna have Moon Knight in Egypt and not have the living mummy?
Living mummy, bro. You gotta put, and then you with the pharaoh, you in the boat and everything. No living mummy, bro.
Man, Ramatut, nothing. We couldn't get
nothing. Easter egg. Ain't there no Kang Easter eggs in there?
Damn, man, so bad.
How about an Apocalypse Easter egg? Give me something.
Give me some. Now
exactly. Give us something.
We had to go with the agenda. You already know.
Exactly.
We had to go with the agenda.
They got
political agenda.
Sticking to the script with that shit.
Literally.
Yeah, we'd be like, just put some wings on her.
I know. What was that? What was that scene? I don't know who the fuck she was supposed to be.
She's a goddess.
But from the books?
Yeah, no. It's from Egyptian.
not
theology.
up on my.
It's oh fuck, I forgot the.
Cool. I enjoyed it. I liked the fact that they gave her wings. I was like, okay.
No, that's cool. I'm not saying nothing like that. It's cool.
Red Bull gave some wings.
Yeah, we
The
get
thing
it.
yeah, it's weird. But but my impression, at least, I mean, I'm not that well read on Moon Knight, but I'm pretty knowledgeable. But she's like a TV show creation, right? Whatever the character she was,
Right.
she's not from the books.
No,
Her character, yeah, not her name. I think
not
yeah,
her name.
character.
Right, she's not
I
from
mean,
the
his girlfriend in the comics, what was it, Marlene? Is that her name or whatever? The blonde.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
And he's got the French guy, I think Frenchie or whatever, that usually picks him up in the Moon Knight copter. I mean, that's my frame of reference for like Moon Knight, you know.
Yeah, but I don't think that shit'll fly on the fucking TV.
You don't want to see the Moon copter show
The
up.
Moon copter coming in with Frenchie and shit, picking him up.
I mean, when everybody was saying he was a
Marlene,
Batman,
it's Marlene.
so they didn't want.
Oh, Scarlet Scarab. There you go, Scarlet Scarab. That was her name. I knew it was something fucking Scarlet Scarab. But yeah,
one of Kang's personas? Oh, the Scarlet Centurion. Forget it, different character.
Yeah. Oh, damn, you thinking totally.
I mean, there's too many colors and names, and I mean, I'm getting confused, man. But Scarlet Centurion is one of Kang's identities, but
yeah, this
Scarlet Scarab is somebody different,
right? You know, I think just overall, you know, we just gotta like, not we in the sense of us, you know, because we see it for what it is.
If you just keep it separate, you'll
right.
be good.
You'll be good. Exactly. I think that's what it is. You just need to keep things separate in that sense where you're not trying to, because see, my thing is this now, somebody who is not reading comic books tries to get into the comic books after studying these movies is going to be totally fucking lost. Like they're just going to, we could adjust, like, because we know the backstory. So we know what was taken out. We know what was put in. We know the fillers. We see the chessboard being moved with characters. So it's easier for us to adjust to these movies. But a person who only knows these movies, I'm thinking it's going to be very difficult for them to adjust to comic books and try to go back like and actually read the original stories to all these movies that have come out. I think that's going to be a lot more daunting than it is the other way around. You know, that's just my take.
Definitely. No, and if they generally, I'm always like, man, if they just stuck to the fucking books, they would have like been all right, you know. Like I think of the first X-Men movie from 2000. I guess back in the day I liked it, but now, like, you know, in retrospect, you look at that movie, it's kind of like a shit show. It's nothing like any comic, like the way they introduced Wolverine and Rogue, and you know, the whole thing's fucked up. So it's like, just think about it though. If they just do like a giant size X-Men, do that as a fucking movie. Don't even do the original X-Men. Just go straight into Professor X recruiting all these mutants. The mission is to go rescue his original team that is being captured. They're being held on this island, which they find out the island itself is the mutant. You know, just like do it like that, it'd be fine. But instead, they went to this, you know, Wolverine's fighting in fucking cages and Rogue's a little girl. And I don't know, man. They just like fucked it up, basically. So in general, don't make them like the comics because they can't, and still keep it separate. But if they stick closer to the books, the movies will be better, I think, you know.
Yeah, man. I mean,
but they're in a rush. They're in a rush.
Yeah, and they're trying to. You got. I mean, I get it from theirs. I'm trying to play the devil's advocate. You know, like I get it from their point of view where they have, like, you got years of stuff that they have to condense, you know, in a couple hours, you know what I mean? And then transition that by movies, you know, so, and have those movies connect to some degree where it's not too outrageous, you know, or too confusing to the audience, you know, and I get that, you know, to that point, but that goes back to what we're saying. Because of that, that is not the 616, you know, because of that, they should have designated that, like we said, you know, 1610, you know, the Ultimate Universe, you know, they should have just went with that. If you're going with these characters from this universe and kicking it off, then just go with that. You know, it would actually make more sense. And you got guys like that are really invested in the comic books would kind of lean back and be like, okay, well, because you're not saying this is 616, you know, I'll give you that leeway. I'll let you slide with all this extra.
You know, tomorrow some dude will be posting 20 copies of the Ultimates #1 or some shit. Ultimate Avengers. I mean, you know that's what would happen.
Oh yeah, that's gonna happen, of course. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, it is a sickness that we have on IG where people just wanna.
Exactly.
I don't know why. I don't get it. It doesn't make no sense to me. It's like, and then it's crazy because they got 10 copies, and it's like you're not even gonna sell them.
Like, why?
You're just
trying to
holding
flex,
these.
I guess.
You just want to say I got for what? For what? You're not even fucking selling them. It's like, the fuck is the point? You know what I mean? It's like, okay, whatever. Anyways, but that's why we got Comic Relief. It's an hour in, guys. It's time to shut this down. Appreciate everybody who's been hanging out with us. Appreciate everybody who's catching the show, catching the replay. And make sure you're following these guys, man, for real, for real. Thank you for everybody who was hanging out with us throughout the whole show and those who just jumping in. Appreciate you guys. Oh, we got another person jumping, man. Listen, we could keep going on for days on this conversation. Trust me. This will never end, guys.
True,
you know, but we have to come to an end now, unfortunately. And appreciate you guys once again. Thank you so much. And you already know, man, we catch you on the gram.